Zach's company has completed over 30 brownstone and townhouses in the past 10 years. The scope of these projects range from simple restorations to the addition of multiple floors, elevators, and cellar excavations. Our kids introduced us to each other, I think, but then in parallel universe, I noticed that Zach's sign is showing up on all these townhouses on the Upper West Side, 71st Street, 76th Street. Welcome, Zach.
I think Dexter spoke about the things that you would do to create value. And I hope to be able to give you some sense of what those items cost, how to do them, what makes sense to do on your own, what makes sense not to do on your own, and how to work and put together a team to facilitate what it is that you want to accomplish. In terms of simple projects, painting, tile replacement, cabinet replacement, floor finishing, window replacement, but there's a caveat there, in a non-historic district. Those are the types of projects that an individual owner can do on their own with a contractor, with a brother-in-law, a sister-in-law, however that wants to happen. Those types of projects are essentially cosmetic, don't require filing, don't require a large set of drawings. What they require is patience, diligence in putting together the right group of people to carry it out. Just to give you some sense, window replacement in a non-historic district, it can be as little as $600 or $700, inclusive of removing the existing window and putting in a new window. In terms of the process of putting together a team for a project that is one that requires professionals to do the certification, the engineering, the architecture, the filing process, it's really about finding a group of people that you feel comfortable working with. And I can't stress this enough. And I think particularly with a brownstone or a townhouse, it is critical that you work with a company that has done this before. The structural requirements, the mechanical requirements, you really want to make sure that you are working with a company that has done this more than once, twice, or 3 times. In terms of the project team, on a moderate to larger size project, it's really the owner, an architect, an engineer, and a contractor. And all of these people are working together. And the key that I think we, and all of us, have to remember is we are the owner, it's our project. And we really need to have a team that is going to focus and listen to us so that things don't run away. One of the other things that I think is important is being able to phase a project. We did a project recently, actually on the Upper West Side, on 76th Street, where the clients were going to put an addition on the house. About a month before the project was going to start, they decided that this was not something that was within their budget. So we sat down, and the architect and myself and the project team that worked for my company and the clients all sat down and said, how can we do this so that a year from now, 2 years from now, we are not going to impact their lives when they do this addition, assuming that they do this addition. The idea that we came up with was we're going to put a staircase that runs from the 4th floor to the roof, and we're going to build a small bulkhead up on the roof so that when the time comes to do the 5th floor, the staircase will be there. We also ran empty pipe and empty conduit, so we ran electric and plumbing up onto the roof level. On another project on the Upper West Side, we had a client that was going to do an excavation project, and they intended to do a large media room down in the cellar. Well, the excavation is the dirtiest and messiest and dustiest and noisiest and most inconvenient part. They had to move in a particular period of time. This had to do more with time than anything else. So we did the excavation. Again, did the excavation, brought all the mechanical systems down there, completed that work, and essentially what they have at this point is a large empty shell in their basement which has all the mechanical equipment downstairs but has not been finished yet, and the intention is this summer, when they go away for the summer, we will complete the lower level. So many houses have had their stoops removed, and it's a real shame. We have found that putting stoops back has become very, very, very popular, and almost every project that my company has undertaken in the last several years where the building has not had a stoop, we have put one back. I was looking at some of the last few projects that we've done, and it ranges from somewhere from $65,000 to $90,000, inclusive of all components of it. So the masonry work, iron railing, new opening through the facade of the building, modification to the interiors and sort of the anti-entry room, which in often cases has been turned into a small bedroom. Fireplaces. In most cases, they have not worked for many, many years, particularly in older buildings, or you've done a smoke test and maybe it's failed the smoke test, and you think to yourself, you know, now what do I have to do? I have to open up my whole chimney breast all the way through my house and rebuild my firebox and be able to put a new fireplace in. Well, these days, the City of New York, the Buildings Department will allow, maybe many people here know this, I'm not sure, stainless steel, they're double-wall stainless steel fireplace flues. And essentially what it is it's a giant, if you think about a dryer vent, except it's a rigid stainless steel material, and it actually slips inside the existing masonry or terracotta flue within the house, and it goes all the way down from the roof line through the firebox. Roof additions, relatively straightforward and simple. In a landmark district, you've got to go before landmarks, and that's a process that requires an architect. It's going to require someone with good experience at the Landmarks Preservation Commission because they want to see how it's going to be built. They want to look at the sight lines from the street. But again, there are many ways to do this. There are masonry additions, meaning brick and block, or block and stucco. There are also additions that you can do with light gauge steel, which is then clad in sheathing and then has brownstone or stucco or some other type of finish, and can be done relatively affordably, quite frankly. Again, it's hard to throw out numbers on something like that, and I'm happy to talk about individual cases on a case-by-case thing after when we're done. What I can say about doing an excavation is it is really important to have a geotech firm and an architect look at the space, and a contractor, frankly, look at the space to determine what is there and to do test pits to the extent that you can. New York City has aquifers, has tremendous granite on the Upper East Side, some places on the Upper West Side. If anyone has specific questions, we've done it in so many locations throughout the city, and I have a fairly good sense, and there's actually someone in this room who works with my company for many years who has a very good idea, sitting in the back somewhere, Tom, of what, by block, what you're going to hit. But it's so important to do the due diligence and to do the research that somebody who has done this kind of stuff before, and I'm talking about a geotech survey company, not just a contractor. I've heard these nightmares of somebody hiring a contractor and said, oh yeah, I'll dig it out for you, and you get the permit, and they start digging, and all of a sudden they're digging and digging and digging, and they've got half the work done, and they hit a big thing of what we would call ledge or rock, and it's solid granite, and then your cost goes from $50,000 to $250,000, and all of a sudden you're going, I gotta get out of this house, and I just gotta go. It's really about understanding what it is you want to do, figuring out what your budget would be, and making it work for you with the right team of people.